Okay, let's talk about Jill Stein, why I don't like her, and why, as of right now, I am not going to support her campaign. As of right now, I am still an uncommitted voter. I don't know exactly who I'm going to support yet, but I'm trying to hear from as many people as possible and be open to different perspectives. A friend of mine who knows Jill Stein's campaign manager set it up so that we're going to have a conversation on Sunday. And I'm going to have an open conversation with him as to the reasons why he thinks that I or anybody else should support her. I don't see him changing my mind, but I am going to be open to it. And I do want to hear him out. But just also FYI, I live in New York. So New York is not only not a swing state, Jill Stein is not on the ballot in New York State. So this ends up being like a little bit irrelevant to me personally. But I still think it's important to talk about because it's a broader issue that has implications for elections across the state. And one more caveat before we get into it. If you were triggered because you heard me say I don't like Jill Stein and you are tempted to run into my comments and let me know how much you hate me and you're unfollowing me, it's really not necessary. You can just unfollow me. You don't need to orchestrate a whole play over it, okay? And you don't even need to comment. You can actually just fuck off. That's an option too. I'm only directing that at the people that are only sending me hate. I do not mind at all if people disagree with me. In fact, I encourage it. I think it's really unhealthy how many people are just trapped in their bubbles and how many people only follow content creators because they want them to say exactly what they want to hear. They are not only not okay with being challenged or having their views challenged, it enrages them. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. If you're one of those people that only follow someone because you want them to reaffirm your priors and agree with the worldview that you already hold, and you're enraged when someone expresses an opinion you don't agree with or challenges your worldview, you're toxic as fuck. And I don't want you in my community anyway. Some of you are acting exactly like Blue MAGA. You're the same people that go, politicians aren't going to save us. But then you act like Jill Stein's going to save you. Like the Green Party's going to save you. You have that same savior energy that you make fun of Kamala Harris supporters for having. Anyway, hopefully that really long set of caveats got rid of all the bad faith people. And the people that are still here are here in good faith. And everything I'm about to say, I am open to hear, critique, and correction on with facts. So, I voted for Jill Stein in 2016. And the reasons why I haven't supported her for a while is because she seems to be a professional campaign runner. And what I mean by that is, everyone who supports her will send you the occasional screenshot because she stood with someone at Standing Rock. But I don't see a record of activism. Maybe that's what I'll hear on Sunday when I speak to her campaign manager. But this is where I am coming from right now. I understand why people want to vote for Jill Stein. And I don't blame anybody for feeling that way. I understand that this is a really scary time in the world right now. And people who actually care about what's happening do not want to continue to support the duopoly of warmongers and genocide enablers. The reason why I don't have any faith or trust in Jill Stein is because of her record or lack thereof. And she seems to just grab on to whatever is trending at the time in order to get people who really do care about these issues to believe her promises about what she's going to do. For instance, in 2012, when Standing Rock was a big issue, she picked an Indigenous woman to be her vice president. Then in 2016, when Black Lives Matter was starting to gain widespread attention, she picked a black man to run with. Now, in 2020, that Palestine is the main issue that so many people on the left care about, she's running with a Muslim man. There seems to be a lot of political opportunism going on there, and yet I don't see the work in between. And no, I'm not going to go into the she's funded by Putin and Russia routine because first of all, there's no evidence for that. And second of all, are we really playing that game in 2024 when all of our politicians are bought and paid for by the Israeli regime? Like, be serious. I don't understand why the Green Party decided to go with Jill Stein anyway. I mean, I know what the excuse is. It had to do with Cornel West, and there's a whole drama between Cornel West and Jill Stein. To me, it shows a lack of leadership to have somebody continually running for president as a full-ass career. Why not have somebody who actually has some experience in organizing? Why doesn't she have anything on her Instagram from 2017 to 2024 when she decided to run again? What happened all those years? Where are you? I know people were like, oh, she got arrested at a protest. She got arrested at a protest when she was running for president. I would like to see what she has been doing in between those years. I would like to know. In between 2017, the last time you posted at the beginning of 2017 and 2024 when you started running for president again, what have you done? What kind of organizing have you done? I'm not even that familiar with Jasmine Sherman, but I know Jasmine Sherman is an organizer who has actually done active on the ground work to help protect tenants in their community. I haven't seen Jill Stein do any organizing work that shows me that she not only is committed to these issues, but that she has the capability to mass mobilize once she be in office. Now, let's pretend that Jill Stein actually could win for a second. We know she's not going to win. I understand that the goal is to get her to 5% so that the Green Party could get federal funding. But let's just pretend for a second, because there are some people that actually think she could win. Let's say she did. Where has she shown us any evidence that she has experience to lead the country? Because we know the job of president of the United States is to be the top cop. You are not a president of these United States without being a war criminal. That's what the United States does. So first, I would like to see some experience and demonstration that she has the ability and the fortitude to stand up to the powers that be. Because it's one thing to be an activist. It's a whole other thing to see the way someone governed. I'm sure a lot of us learned that the hard way with Obama. And honestly, a lot of us had to learn it the hard way with Bernie. Bernie was a very inspiring leader, but when it came to actually organizing to get fucking power, he failed miserably. How would she stand up to the military-industrial complex? How would she deal with the deep state? What is her plan on standing up to the administrative state, the State Department, DOD, and all the other three-letter agencies that drive policy in this country? She's never even held public office before, any office. Why is she only always running for president? She ran for governor of Massachusetts a couple times, but why not run for Congress? Why not run for city council? To demonstrate to us that she knows how to legislate and she knows how to work with other people, because you're not on an island as president. You have to be able to demonstrate that you know how to tussle with those bitches. She has demonstrated none of that. So I really haven't seen either of the things that you would need for a president. I haven't seen any activism, organizing experience in between presidential elections, and I have not seen any demonstration that she has the ability or has even tried to work within or even outside of the political system to deal with any type of power center. I'm supposed to believe that this person who has no organizing experience, who has parts of their biography that just disappear off the internet for 7 years at a time, is going to suddenly get into office as commander-in-chief of the bloodiest empire in the world that's controlled by Zionists, and suddenly is going to take on the military-industrial complex and the State Department and the weapons manufacturers and just stop genocide and create a Department of Peace? Can I have like a shred of evidence for that? People are like, oh, well, she has great policies on her website. Yeah, because as it turns out, it's really easy to put excellent policies on your platform when they're not going to be challenged. Kamala Harris did the same thing in 2019. And I know that she's worked on initiatives and nonprofits over the decades. But where is the focus on building an infrastructure? Take your own advice when you say no president is going to save us, because no president is going to save us. People talk about the duopoly, which is true. Duopoly is one of the biggest problems. Money in politics is the other biggest problem. So why hasn't there been a focus on tackling those issues that are actually the most directly responsible for the duopoly keeping its power? Like ranked choice voting or the MPVIC, the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, that states would give their electoral votes to whoever won the popular vote. Things like getting involved with working on a constitutional amendment to remove money from politics. That in particular is something people will often say, oh, that's too hard. Well, our Constitution's been amended before. It doesn't mean it can't be done, like a third-party candidate has never won before. Those examples that I just gave take time and work that need to be done between elections. Things that I'm sure that Jill Stein is fully aware of. So the question is, why haven't you been working on those specific issues? Because working to get more referendums secured or things like ranked choice voting in every state are things that could start to chip away at the two-party system to dismantle it. Dismantling the two-party system is something that everybody should want, regardless of your political affiliation. But just simply putting a third-party candidate on the ballot in our existing system is not going to change said system, regardless of which candidate you put on the ballot. This work has to be done year-round. This work has to be done in between elections. Duopoly is not going to be broken by adding a Green Party candidate or a Libertarian or anyone else to it, because it is structured in a way to only advantage the two parties. If we want to break this system, it is work we have to do to the voting procedures and ballots, not in them. 60% of the country, that includes Democrats and Republicans, want a ceasefire, want to stop sending weapons to the Israeli regime, but we are not getting that. Why? Not because we don't have a third party, but for the same reason why we don't have more than a two-party system. Because they either don't mind that we only have a two-party system or they don't care about money in politics. Neither of those things are going to be corrected without things like a constitution constitutional amendment to ban money in politics and ranked choice voting. We are not going to just vote for a third-party candidate and have that solve our problem. This is structural work that we have to do all the time, and that includes joining organizations and voting in your local election. Because I got smug motherfuckers coming on here yelling at me about why I don't like Jill Stein. These motherfuckers have never voted for an election in their lives. They're so smug telling me what's best when they're so lazy they can't even vote for a local judge who would decide some of these cases. If you're not serious about organizing locally in your local elections and then you want to come and tell me that I just need to vote for Jill Stein, you're just demonstrating the same exact laziness that Blue MAGA demonstrates when they don't do shit and then says vote blue no matter who. I'm not asking Stein what her plan is for winning because we all know that she's not going to win. My question is, what have you been doing the last 10 years? What organizing have you done on the ground to work to dismantle the structural issues that make it so we're stuck in this duopoly in the first place? I could go on, but as I said at the beginning of the video, I am open to hearing what her response is to that when I talk to her campaign. But as of right now, I haven't seen any of that. I have not seen any challenges or any real work or results on the barriers that we actually face or the structure we live under. There's many things that you can do. Why not start a Packers lane to challenge and counter AIPAC? Or join the efforts of those organizing to get ranked choice voting. Join and work with the NPVIC to break down the Electoral College stranglehold. My thing is, she's never been in office for her to have a record we can judge her on. So what can we judge her on? We have to judge her off of her wins in organizing. I want to know and see the work that she's done in between elections to actually take on the two-party duopoly. You can have good politics on paper and be a good activist, but if you're not actually getting any policy wins, what does it matter? If Jill Stein actually wants to stop the genocide, as we all do, why not use that massive power that she's amassed through her supporters to use and mobilize the massive support she has from the left and threaten the Democrats? Why aren't we having a conversation about that? Why aren't we using all the momentum that Jill Stein has, and why isn't she using to straight up threaten them? To say, this is how much support Jill Stein has. She's got 2 million people. Why doesn't she do that? Why doesn't she say, hey guys, look, I've got 2 million people ready to vote for me across the country, hundreds of thousands in the swing states. Do the math. Show that you've got these numbers and go to the Democratic Party now, and say to them, I will make you lose across the swing states. If Biden doesn't stop sending weapons to the Israeli regime, and if Kamala Harris doesn't change her position and make a commitment that she won't. Can you imagine the power that would have? My question is, why the fuck isn't anybody talking about that? Why isn't anybody saying, hey, whoa, the left is really mad and mobilized, and a lot of people are thinking about voting for Jill Stein because they don't want the genocide to continue. Why isn't she using that massive power and leverage that she holds right now, that the Green Party holds right now, to exert pressure on the Democrats? They're not even trying. It's not even a conversation. Why? Isn't the genocide having it stop our priority? You know who does that? Republicans. RFK, who was garnering a lot of support from Republican Trump voters. You know what happened? Trump went to him and said, how do I get you? And RFK said, I got a lot of people that want to vote for me that would vote for you. What do I get? And now they're working on the same campaign together. And he's promised him an anti-vaxxer, a nice anti-vax HHS policy so he can be an anti-vaxxer within his administration. So they neutralize the threat of the third party while giving RFK what he wanted. I would like for her to answer that question, because I actually think that mobilizing all the people that are thinking about voting green or have already committed to vote green against the Democrats and say, hey, this is the numbers we ran, this is how much support we have, we will get out of the race and get behind you if you change your positions on XYZ, and if you commit to stopping arms to the Israeli regime. And the fact that this hasn't even been a fucking conversation within the Green Party or with people on the left or with Jill Stein makes me question, once again, how serious the left is about getting power. Because again, the Republicans, they fucking care about getting power. It doesn't matter if they are establishment Republicans, if they're Alex Jones conspiracy theorists, they're RFK independent leaning but conspiratorial anti-vax voters, or the evangelical anti-choice zionist lunatics who successfully use pressure and the threat of withholding their votes to get him to pick who they want on the Supreme Court. The right is who we should be learning from because they actually do shit. Do we really care about getting a ceasefire? Do we really care about getting an arms embargo? Like, what are we doing here? The uncommitted movement is not large enough to pose any kind of real threat to the Democrats, but together they would be. And then we wouldn't have to try to appeal to the Democrats' humanity. We could appeal to their fear. Do we care about stopping the genocide or don't we? Do we care about actually in any kind of meaningful way taking on AIPAC or money in politics generally or don't we? Because I see Republicans very fucking serious about getting power, but I don't see that on the left or in the Green Party. And what I want to know is what is the plan to do that? Because at this point, just voting for Jill Stein is not going to do that. And I would like to know why the Green Party is not working like that. We're just going to continue this cycle every 4 years of having the Green Party win, lose, disappear, and then come back 4 years later? Like, I want to know why the Green Party hasn't been thinking about ways to leverage the power that they have against the Democrats. Because if we really want our voices to be heard, then we need to be organizing and threatening the powerful with our collective power. Otherwise, they're not going to give a fuck about what we think. This isn't about morals. Too many people attach their moral identity to a candidate. This isn't about morals. This is about strategy. This is about power, because ain't nobody fucking care what a loser thinks. And of course, it's always about money, but since the Greens don't have money, they gotta use what they have, which is people. Because the Democrats, just like every other power structure in this country, only cares about power and money. And they have all the money in the world because of their donors and lobbyists, but what they don't have is a guarantee on Michigan. How do you bend them to your will? So that's my question to the Green Party and Jill Stein. But that's if your main priority is getting an arms embargo and stopping the genocide. A specific demand that you can weaponize your vote with. Otherwise, what incentive do they have to give a shit? To me, this is about trying to figure out how to get that specific policy demand, because you're not going to just break the duopoly in one election cycle. Or by voting third party, because breaking the duopolies we talked about is work that happens outside of that. Because too often than not, the left doesn't actually care about getting power. The left has become comfortable being outsiders. And I am not interested in just being an outsider for the sake of being an outsider, or voting green for the sake of saying that I voted green outside of the duopoly. I want power to actually affect change so that Democrats are scared of us and want to stop the genocide, or else they're scared they're going to lose. And I want organizations to be empowered to actually work to start to dismantle this system, because until we get money out of politics, because politics and corporations and dark money and AIPAC own our politics, and until we can do things like ranked choice voting and moving the Electoral College out of irrelevance, Nothing is going to change. So I am not, again, judging anybody who wants to vote for Jill Stein, because I tend to think that most people that do, it's because you actually care about what's going on. But there are some people that have come into my comments and let me know how much better they are than me and how much they hate me now because I said I didn't like Jill Stein. Well, you can fuck off. Because those are the same people that when I ask them what exactly are they doing to organize around the Green Party, to actually try to implement ranked choice voting, to actually try to get it so that we've got some more options on our ballot, nothing. The same fucking people that are upset about AIPAC but couldn't be bothered to vote against the AIPAC candidate. So now another Zionist lunatic is in the seat that used to be held by an anti-Zionist. I understand if you don't want to vote within the two-party system. But if you are going to be against it, then there is a lot of work that needs to be done on the outside and the inside in order to take down this system that we have had since the beginning of the country. And you can't sit there and shame Blue MAGA for not wanting to vote for Kamala Harris and then turning around and acting exactly like them. Shaming people because they're not happy with the Green Party or they don't want to vote for Jill Stein. Like the Green Party or voting third party is suddenly going to save you too. It's not. None of this is going to be an overnight thing. So as of right now, I will not be supporting Jill Stein for all of those reasons. As I've already mentioned a couple times, I'm going to be talking to her campaign manager on Sunday, and I'm going to be open to what he has to say. But these structural issues remain the same. And if we want things to change, we actually have to work together to change them over the long haul. And that also includes voting in your local elections and not just waiting every 4 years for a Green Party candidate to come along or for Jill Stein to run again. So I'll end it with that. Regardless of who you plan on voting for this election cycle, make sure that you're voting down ballot. There are so many elections referendums, constitutional state amendments that really matter. So if you're not registered to vote right now, check your voter registration, especially if you're in a red state, because the Republicans like to kick people off the rolls. Register to vote and start looking to the issues. Educate yourself on what's going to be on your ballot this year. All 435 seats are up in Congress. Find out who your congressperson is. Who's running in your district? Are they AIPAC lackeys? If they are, maybe you should start calling them. Congressional elections are every 2 years. If they don't support an arms embargo, maybe look into primarying them next term. Just get involved and make sure that you are registered to vote, because the answer is going to be us working on those things over the long haul, not attacking people and shitting on them because they didn't vote the way you wanted them to, or for whatever savior you thought was going to fix everything.